In the small, secluded town of Ravensbrook, there was an old, abandoned mansion at the end of Elmsbury Lane. The locals whispered about it in hushed tones, claiming it was cursed. They said that on moonlit nights, the cries of lost souls could be heard drifting from its rotting walls. One evening, a curious young woman named Emily decided to investigate. She was an amateur paranormal researcher, fascinated by urban legends and the supernatural. Despite the townsfolk's warnings, Emily ventured into the mansion, equipped with only a flashlight, a camera, and a voice recorder. As she stepped inside, the air was heavy and musty, thick with the scent of decay. The floorboards groaned under her weight as she explored room after room, each one more dilapidated than the last. Shadows danced on the walls, and strange noises echoed through the empty halls. Emily's flashlight flickered intermittently, casting eerie shapes that seemed to move on their own. In the grand ballroom, she noticed a large, ornate mirror covered in a layer of dust. As she approached it, she wiped away the grime, revealing a reflection that seemed oddly distorted. Emily took out her camera and began snapping photos, hoping to capture something unusual. Suddenly, a chilling draft swept through the room, extinguishing her flashlight. Panic set in as she fumbled to turn it back on. When the light finally flickered back to life, she saw something that made her blood run cold. In the mirror's reflection behind her stood a figure, a gaunt, shadowy silhouette with hollow eyes staring directly at her. Emily spun around, but there was no one there. She turned back to the mirror, and the figure was gone. Trembling, she reviewed the photos she had taken. In one of them, the figure was clear, its sunken eyes and bony fingers reaching out as if to grasp her. She decided it was time to leave. As she hurried towards the exit, the mansion seemed to come alive with whispers and creaks, as if it was protesting her departure. When Emily finally burst out into the cool night air, she felt an overwhelming sense of relief. That night, Emily listened to the recordings she had made. Most of them were filled with static and indistinct murmurs. But then she heard something unmistakable. A deep, mournful voice whispering her name over and over again. Emily. Emily. The next day she discovered that no one had ever lived in the mansion for decades, but there were old records of a family that had vanished mysteriously many years ago. They were reported to have lived in that very mansion, and their names were eerily similar to her own. From that day on, Emily could never shake the feeling that she was being watched. Sometimes when she was alone at night, she would hear her name whispered softly, just out of reach, as if from the other side of a mirror.